Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. I'm sorry I'm late. I got in here and I could not change the background or the video startup or anything. So it just took me a few minutes to futz around with that. Hi, welcome to PoliTarology on Sunday with me, Colleen Pearl, the cool crone. I'm happy to see everybody here. Thank you for joining me. And we're going to be doing a few political questions. So I hope that makes you happy. If you have questions, please put them in the chat in capital letters, and my faithful assistant Cleo will be happy to put them up on the screen for me. All right. So we're going to start out with a question that I think is not really funny, but kind of ironic. So, all the big oligarchs sat with Trump during the inauguration. And those big oligarchs were people who ran organizations like Google and Apple and Facebook and Amazon, like big, big, big entities, right? And my first issue has to do with the fact that Google is being sued by the US government for monopoly practices. So even though they sat at the inauguration and even though they gave millions of dollars to the dumpster, that didn't stop the DOJ from going ahead and suing him. And I believe that this suit was brought while Biden was still president. So they're saying, in August, Google lost another big antitrust case when another judge ruled that it illegally maintained a monopoly over search and search advertising, recommending that Google spin off its Chrome browser. The thing goes on and on and on, but basically they're saying you're too big, you got to break it up. And of course, Google is saying, no, we don't want to break it up. All right, so that's that. Now, another person who's being sued or entity that's being sued is Zuckerberg. I'm trying to see what his suit is about. His suit is about to decide. Also antitrust, which is close to monopoly practices, but it's due to Meta's acquisition of apps like Instagram and WhatsApp. So these big tech giants, these oligarchs, are not really getting favored treatment by the dumpy administration, all except Mr. Musk, who has the Tesla, Starlink, all the other stuff that really, really infiltrates our society. So they're beginning to feel the pinch of being oligarchs and in the circle, but not quite the really inner circle. So I'm going to do a little reading on that. So we're going to use the Housewives deck for this. And I'm going to see, well, what's going to happen? First, we'll do Google, because that's where I have a vested interest, because that's where YouTube lives. And, I would like for YouTube to keep going. I don't care if they break it up or not. I mean, that would be good. Hi to everybody who's here. Who's all here? Linda Miville, Sherry's here. Thank you, Sherry, for being here. Lightseeker, Daniel Martin, Sherry Freeberry, Teresa Ortez, Yvonne, Lightseeker, Brenny. Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for being here. I know it's supposed to be a holiday, allegedly, but I'm glad you guys took time to join me. It's really nice. Okay, so what will be the fate of Google concerning this lawsuit about them being a monopoly? I mean, you have to admit, the term Google is in the dictionary. I mean, this has permeated our society. So are they a monopoly? Kinda, right? Oh boy. Interesting. Oh boy. Well, one thing I can see right off the bat is that this is not going to be decided on this go round, that it's going to keep going, going, going with appeals and things and different negotiations. But the first card that covers them is the Hierophant. So this is the government. This is the government saying, no, we're the government. You're not the government. We're the government. So you have to back down. And given the fact that the DOJ is not listening to the courts, I mean, AKA the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, with all of Dumpy's lawsuits and the deportation stuff. Wouldn't it be interesting if now all of a sudden they're going to put the shoe on the other foot and say, oh, but for you guys, for you tech giants, you have to follow what the courts say? I mean, what are they going to do? Like, they don't even have those agencies like to shut them down anymore because they broke up all those agencies, I think. All right. And what crosses that is the Seven of Cups. So Google is they're going to try every 6 ways to Sunday to obfuscate this issue. They're going to try to mask it. They're going to try to make it seem like they're really not a monopoly, or they're going to try to um, shift things around, kind of do a shell game with their various entities and act as if, oh, well, those are really separate entities. Those are not just Google, like Facebook has done with Instagram. It's still Instagram, right? But it's going to be interesting because there's going to be a lot of obfuscation going on. At the base of the matter is the Chariot. They are going to have to change. They are going to have to change, and when they change, it's not going to kill them. Google's not going to go under. It's not going to really even hurt their bottom line because each of the various arms or entities of Google make their own money anyway and have their own staff and do their own thing anyway. So it's not going to kill him. It's just really not going to kill him. Now, maybe for the top oligarch, he'll feel a different pinch, and maybe they have to rearrange their boards of directors so there's not so much inbredness, so that they're all not having all 10 of their own fingers in all 15 of their pies, something like that. And, what really has brought this about is our laws. In the past, we have the Two of Cups. That's the, agreement that we have with the Constitution and our laws, that no, you can't really have a monopoly and just sit there forever as a monopoly. Now, what crowns them at the top is the Four of Cups. So um, they don't want to change. They don't want to break it up. They don't want to take the trouble. They want to focus on other things. They're going to have every argument in the book. Don't forget, they've got the Seven of Cups here, so they've got all the obfuscation going on. So there's going to be a lot of nonsense there. The Page of Pentacles is in their future, so they're going to start small. They're going to break off small things. I don't think they're going to break off Chrome. No, I think Chrome is a big bread and butter for them. So they're going to break off something else and say, see, we're breaking things off. That's going to be part of the obfuscation. So they're going to do a few little things to try to make it seem like they are complying, but they're going to be found in contempt anyway. So it doesn't matter. But this is going to go on probably for a few years. What are they worried about? They're worried about starting over. They're worried about breaking things off and not being able to make the money in their bottom line. But I think that's a false fear. And I think that this is kind of going to be symbolic of this Pluto and Aquarius era, where we go from Pluto and Capricorn is all about capitalism and materialism and, frankly, militarism. Most corporations are built on a military hierarchy, right? You got a guy at the top and then a few guys and then some more guys. And so everybody above you has more authority than you do until you get to the top, right? And so you have to do what that person says. Well, that kind of model and that kind of thinking is becoming passé. It isn't passé yet, but it is becoming passé because people truly believe that trickle down economics really works, that if the guy at the top makes a lot more money than you, then that will trickle down, and now you're going to get a bigger salary, and then the one person below you gets a slightly lower salary, and on and on and on down to the peanut gallery where they make peanuts, right? But the thing is that it's been proven that in corporations like Japan or China has this model too, but I think Japan definitely has this model where you you share more of the wealth. You respect the people that you work with. You encourage people's talents and encourage people to grow in their careers. And that is ultimately better for the company. Now, I'm not saying Google doesn't do that. I'm sure that they do encourage a lot of talent because they need new ideas and new talent. So they probably really, really focus on younger people who come up from school now and have bright ideas about how to do things in a new way. And so, they're really, if they hang on to this too tight, they're really going to cut off their nose to spite their face. They're really going to hurt themselves because that old um, militaristic model of how capitalism should work is really going the way of the Edsel. I mean, it's just going out there. Now, what other people see is they're waiting for a big surprise because it's Google and their technology, and it's going to be, they're going to do something new and crazy and fun, just like their word Google that changes all the time with whatever holiday it is or whatever thing we're celebrating. So they're kind of expecting something unusual and new to come out of this whole thing. And you know what? It will, but they will go kicking and screaming through that door. They will not go gentle into that night. And then what they're hoping for is that they can get new companies that make them loads of money. And they will. They will. But the whole model of you got to have one guy who's the king, who makes just more money than everybody else in the company put together, that has got to go away. That has got to be let go. How much money do you really need, right? I mean, do you need to be a gazillionaire to be happy, to be successful, to know that you're successful? No. And, these guys are all learning big, big, fat lessons. I don't know that all of them are going to learn that lesson, but they're going to learn a few things. And the final outcome is the Five of Cups. They're going to feel when they ultimately have to accept the court's decision, which is going to be that you are a monopoly and you have to break things up. They're going to be very, very sorely disappointed. But on and on, as they go on this journey, this progression of doing that breakup, they are going to find that it's going to be just fine. It's going to be better for their employees. They're going to have better relationships with the world. Google will still be a respected entity. It'll still be something that people rely on for searching, and they just shouldn't fight so hard. It's just not going to help them. So that's what I have about Google. Let's take a look at Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg. And Mark Zuckerberg, I mean, I think it's true. I do not think he's actually human. I think he's a cyborg. I think he's got like chips in his brain or something, because he is just weird. He's weird looking. He's weird acting. The way he speaks is weird. His weird thing lately where he kind of like changed his image. I mean, what did he go into AI and say, how could I look cooler? I can just see him typing into AI, please redesign my hair, face, and clothing so that I look like a cool human. I mean, this guy, ugh, crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. All right, so what's going to happen to Zuckerberg's Meta? And, wasn't that a stupid name? Come on. Just Meta. I don't think I've ever called it Meta until like maybe today a couple of times. I mean, most of the time I refer to it as Facebook. Okay, so what's going to happen to Mark Zuckerberg really is what I want to know about. Not necessarily Meta and all its entities, but what's going to happen for Monsieur Zuckerberg? Let's see. Yeah, artist Liz. Yeah, he looks like a cyborg. He just doesn't look normal. And Elon Musk too. They don't look normal. Okay. Now, Mr. Zuckerberg is playing a very different game. The first card out for him is the Nine of Swords. So he is he's out for blood. He's, I guess, really incensed that he's being sued like this. He is crossed by the Page of Pentacles. This is his little cyborgness, just saying, well, they just can't do that to me. I'm not a monopoly. I'm not trying, because they think of monopoly as a bad word, right? And it is in our legal sense. It is bad. We don't want companies to have a monopoly on things because it's not fair in the landscape of business. It's just not fair that one company is allowed to get so big that everybody else just dries up and goes away. So this allowing other companies to flourish is not an American thing. It's a good business thing. Competition is actually good for your business. It kind of stimulates you to change your business, update things, keep going with the flow, keep looking at the landscape, keep serving your customers and giving them what they really need, because the world changes. And as we go more into this, I mean, we're coming out of soon this Jupiter and Gemini year, where many, many new ideas are coming on board. You notice the not total embrace of AI, but a bigger embrace of AI, and all the different things that we have had invented, and that are coming into personal use. Just watch any one of those shorts about, amazing gadgets from China. And you know what I'm talking about. I mean, there's some amazing things that you can get that really are helpful around the house. But going back to Zuckerberg, he he thinks of himself as running a little empire. This is the Empress, but still, and this may also speak to an involvement with Russia, but I'm taking it more to mean that he really thinks of his world of meta as a world. So, I mean, you're calling things the meta, and people have been talking about in sci-fi for years, the metaverse, right? So, what are we supposed to think, Zuckerberg? Yeah, obviously you do want to kind of take over the world. So, they're going to break you up before you do that. That's not cool. But, he's going to hang on for dear life. He's going to make his stupid little kid kind of acts, his reactions are going to be kind of immature and not really well thought out. But he's got the Nine of Swords. He's very, very defensive, and he's defending his little castle, his little metaverse, as it were. So he has a very different attitude than Google. And in the past, for him, he's got the Two of Wands. This was his big idea, and it's just not going to come to fruition because they're stopping him. Now, what crowns him, though, is the Star. This is his karma. His karma is to kind of take his lumps and move on with it. But I don't see him taking it gracefully. He does. This may mean, too, that he has some kind of a reprieve. And maybe he does have Russian involvement. Maybe somehow they are going to help him through this and give him a reprieve in some way. But I think this is his karma. I think that he has to understand his role in this, and that what he's doing is illegal. That's the first thing, is he just doesn't accept that what he's doing is illegal. Creating a metaverse and getting money for every aspect of it is not legal. All right, what's in the future for him is the High Priestess, which means we're going to find out lots of secrets about Facebook. If you recall, a couple of years ago, there was a whistleblower that testified in front of Congress about how they knew about what the metadata and what the activity on social media was doing to children, and that it was very, very bad. I'll just give the broad strokes there because I don't remember all the details, but a lot more detail is going to come out about that, and details about other studies that Facebook or Meta already knew about and just ignored or exploited instead of fixing, so that it was safer for people. What is he worried about? Well, it's still a page. He's just worried about his own image. Page of Wands. He's just worried about, well, what does it look like to other people? And what do I have to say? Again, he's basically not human. He doesn't know how to respond to things. God forbid he should ever, he is. He is. And he does have delusions of grandeur, but also he's saying, you can't say that to me. Just like Elon's kid in the Oval Office, why don't you shut up? You shouldn't be here. You're not really the president. Well, in Zuckerberg's case, he's just saying you guys are not really worthy of having all this information. I am. I'm the one who should have all the information and should gain from it. So I don't see good karma for him coming from this. What do we see? Oh yeah, Five of Swords. Everybody's just like, you know what? We're taking you down. We don't like what you're doing, so we're going to take you down. And this may take a few years too. I mean, none of these lawsuits go quickly. What is he hoping for? He's hoping that he can, if he just sticks to his guns, he can not only win the lawsuit, but he can make his meta the true metaverse of the world and get what he wants. He's not going to have any sort of remorse about what he's doing. He's not going to really understand for years yet that what he's doing is actually against the law. He just won't accept it. So talk about a narcissist. He's got deep-seated issues with that one. The final outcome is the Wheel of Fortune. So does this mean that the whole thing caves? Maybe. Maybe because of the secrets that come out. Maybe they go harder in the lawsuit and then his whole universe kind of falls apart. Or they break it all up and insist that other people buy it and they don't let him be a part of it or something. I think they can do that in certain instances. Anyway, so no bueno for Facebook. Google is not going to like it, but they are going to go with it. They're going to learn from it. They're going to reformulate all their companies. They have to disperse different things and split them off. And they're going to come out with better business models in each of the entities that were formerly Google, all under the Google umbrella. So like, I don't know if YouTube will become its own separate entity, but say it did, then the way that they run, think about it, how big YouTube is. That could be a company, an entity, a business thing of Google all on its own, right? Chrome, I don't know. I can't think of all the other things because I don't know all the ins and outs of Google, but there is so much there that they could split off and they could still make a ton of money. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see. Yeah. This is I copied out the whole article about Google, and I was just going to. Google has a branch in El Salvador. What's the relationship between Google and Bukele? Oh, it's not a situation where Google has any, like Bukele has any kind of a financial stake in Google. I don't think. It's just that they maybe can operate differently in El Salvador than they do in the United States, and maybe that serves them to serve other foreign countries where the laws are different and things like that. I'm not getting that there's such a big like dark connection there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I will read on it. Whatever. Okay. All right. I don't think they're going to continue to do business in El Salvador for very, very long. This shows that we have the King of Wands, which is most likely Bukele, crossed by the Justice card on its side. And I think that Bukele is going to try to push Google into doing things that they don't want to do. Underneath is strength, so they're going to have to resist his imaginings that he can control Google. And I don't think he can. In the past, as the emperor, this is how Bukele wants it. He wants to pull the strings, and Google does not want that. Above them is the Ten of Swords, but it was reversed. So it's not ending just now, but it will end in the future. And in the front is the Five of Wands. In his future is the Five of Wands. So there's going to be big difficulties between Google and El Salvador Bukele. Um, you know, the relationship is probably going to be severed pretty soon. I don't see that people will people will look on it as, yeah, I remember when Google had a place in El Salvador. It's not going to last long. It is not going to last long. We have the Eight of Swords. He's gonna, Bukele is going to be. I think of it. I think they'll be afraid of being arrested. That's what I think. The King of Swords is the final outcome, so I think there's some sort of a legal action there too. That Google is like, okay, we're out of here. This is just too weird down here, and nobody wants to go to jail for being a nerd, for being a programmer. Nobody wants that. So I think it's not no bueno for everybody, for Google having something in El Salvador. I mean, and this could take like a couple of years for it to play out, but I think eventually Google's gonna, pull up stakes and be like, "We're out of here. This is just too weird. We can't do this. We can't keep our people safe, and it's weird." And maybe they're hiring all people from El Salvador. Who knows? It might not be any kind of transplant situation at all. It could be, actual El Salvadorans who are working for Google and are very, very smart. Maybe they'll bring those people to the United States to work. I mean, the oligarchs love the H-1B visas, so that could be a new country for them to tap into as far as talent. Before, from watching national Spanish news, but I had no idea it was this bad. Yeah, and he's a dictator, and I didn't know much about him either, but apparently he has dubbed himself the coolest dictator in the world, which I take great offense to because I'm the cool crone and I don't want to be in the same category as somebody like that. All right, so let's go on to something else. Oh, thank you, Batty Bessie. Thank you very much. I remember I replied on a couple of your comments because I went through comments this weekend too. So thank you so much for becoming a member. I'll see you at the next meeting. All right, I have a question that I'd like to read on. So Trump is replacing his. Oh, wait. How is the felon going to receive the results of the Canadian election after this month? Is he going to continue his rhetoric about Canada becoming the 51st state? Yes, he's going to continue his rhetoric about the 51st state until he goes to the grave. That's going to be like tariffs. Like he's just going to keep talking about it and keep talking about it. And as far as the results of the Canadian election, he's not going to pay attention to anything that's going on in Canada until he wants to talk to Canada or until something about Canada comes to his attention. And then he'll just start criticizing the new person from Canada, the new prime minister or whatever it is. So that's that. When it comes to this tea stolen, the tea in the world give us some grace and compassion. No, it's not going to be immediate. It's going to take the world a while to trust us again, and it's going to take our government, whatever form that is in, to switch a lot of things back. And so there'll probably be two main goals of the new government. One will be to restore the agencies that were decimated and get all the people back that should be working there. And one will be working on foreign relations and trying to repair those as quickly as possible. But it won't come back super quick. The EU, no. Now, as far as them giving us grace, Well, yeah, because they're actually working behind the scenes to help us get back to grace. They're actually a ton of people, Mark Rutte, um, Vandaline, ICC. I mean, there's all sorts of entities that know about the whole situation here, the true situation here, and there are people and forces working behind the scenes in the U.S. and abroad to help that. We're not supposed to know what Biden is thinking right now. He is probably helping, but let the guy retire. Jesus, he's in his 80s. Just let him have a rest and put his feet up. But he's working on stuff, so don't worry about that. Okay, Cleo, I'm gonna do one of the questions that I have up here next. So Trump is going to replace his acting IRS commissioner. So he didn't even have a confirmed IRS commissioner. He had put somebody in there acting, so it didn't have to be confirmed by Congress. So he's replacing the acting IRS commissioner that he appointed just 3 days earlier. And I took this off the news a couple of days ago, so it's probably 5 days ago. He had put this person in, and now he's replacing them. So Deputy Treasury Secretary Michael Faulkender will now run the Internal Revenue Service, becoming get this, folks, the fifth person to hold that job so far. So why is this? Is this that the IRS is terribly complex to run? Is it that Trump wants different things from his IRS commissioner? Why is he having such a time getting someone in there that will do what he wants? So let's read on that. So we're reading about why Trump keeps replacing his IRS commissioners. Why can't he just be happy? Why can't he just be at peace? Why? What is going on in that little pickled brain of his? Pickled or just like empty? Like, I can't make up my mind. Okay. Why is Trump replacing these guys like water? Oh, I see. Okay, here we go. So, the big reason that he keeps replacing them is he's really super paranoid that everybody's stealing from him. Because, as a narcissist, he really believes that everything that's in the coffers for the US is actually belongs to him. So he's super, super paranoid. That, and he doesn't want anybody to get his tax information, and he doesn't want all of that stuff. He wants to know everybody else's stuff, which is Elon's job, right? They want to know all of everybody else's dirty laundry and all of their money things, but they don't want anybody to know their money things. And the card that crosses this is the Hanged Man. So it's going to take him a while to really find somebody that he can trust and that will do what he wants. So it could be that he is out until before he ever finds somebody that really fits the bill. The card underneath is the 10 of Wands. He just keeps stepping on his left foot and tripping. He can't get it off the ground. It just keeps dying. So I guess like either they're like really incompetent and they don't understand what's going on with the IRS, or they are competent and they're doing what they should be doing and he doesn't want them to do that. So that's why he keeps replacing them, basically. And what's going to come from this is, the first couple of guys that he got in there, he actually sort of kind of knew what they were about. And then after that, it was just like next. And he just started doing central casting. Like he just wants to see them audition for him by going on Fox News or something like that. And then he just puts them in there. Now, the 9 of Cups crowns him. So one of the things that's going to happen for him is he's going to get somebody in there that he thinks is really, really great, right? Is going to do everything that he wants them to do. And then he's not going to do it at all. He's going to kind of turn on him. He's going to like flip the switch on him, because what we have in the future here for this is the Fool. So, why do you mess with the IRS? The IRS and Social Security, I feel like, are two agencies that actually do work pretty well. And both of them are so horribly underfunded. It's like amazing that they do, but they have been forced over the years to become actually very efficient because they don't have the money. The IRS, I don't think even, well, I think maybe Biden got them new hardware. But I don't know if databases have been rewritten and if software and everything has been, I don't know. But I know Biden was trying to do something like that, because I think when he was in office, they hired a lot more people. And I think a lot of those people really focused on technology. I think I could be wrong about that. Now, what is he hoping for? Well, he's certainly hoping that nobody's stabbing him in the back anymore, but he just can't trust. He can't, it's really hard for him to trust. And what we all see is that he just wants the money. He just wants all the money for himself. It's so clear. It's so clear that he really, really believes that he should just have more money from the IRS. They collect money. It should go in my bank account. Like, he wants a cut of everything. He wants a commission on every bit of tax that comes into the U.S. Treasury. He's hoping, he has said this before, I think, or maybe Elon said this, that basically they want to just redesign it from the ground up. Um, I don't know if that's possible. I mean, would you just keep the old one chugging along while you redid the new one? And then at some point in his mind, you flip a switch and it just moves over to the new one and you just get rid of everybody from the old one. I don't think things work like that. I mean, there's a reason why there's certain people who sort of specialize with going into companies and reviving them, because they know how to make that happen. And it isn't about just dumping the old and bringing in the new. It really isn't. It can't be like that. So that's stupid. And, we all know he's pretty stupid in general. The final outcome card is the Hierophant. This is the government again. And the government has to be able to function in an efficient way. And it already does in many instances. So, Elon, I don't even know why you're there. So I think this also tells me that by the time he gets around to somebody that he thinks can really run the IRS, it's moot. It does not matter, because he's going to be out of there. So I don't think we have a lot to worry about with the IRS. I was really torn this year about filing my taxes, but I did do it, and I didn't wait till the last minute. I actually put them in, and I didn't get a great refund. It was way worse than last year. And, I'm doing my thing. I'm paying my taxes like a good person, because I work, but I also have this business, and I pay my taxes. I think it's the right thing to do. All right, so that's that. So now let's take something from the starred questions. I'm going to pick one out, Cleo. Look at that. We did that. Did we get that? Okay, let's read on this. The thing is, guys, there's so much going on behind the scenes that we are not meant to know. There's a reason why it's being kept secret, and that is because they don't want them to know. Okay? So I am going to use a rather dark deck for this, because this is supposed to be hidden. It's not just Congress. There are many different people that have this evidence. For instance, the whistleblower on the muskrat, right? That whistleblower had a lot of information that also has to do with the election. So let me see here. I just want to. I like my cards to just be upright. There's enough negative cards in here that I don't read reversals. So just bear with me here for a second. Sorry. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay. Almost there. Okay, great. Okay, here we go. A lot of times it looks like I just put my cards in the wrong way after a reading. So they're usually all clumped together. Okay, so what we're looking at is, will the information about the steal come out, and will Kamala take her rightful place as POTUS? Okay, these are weird cards, so just give me a minute to look at them. This is the Tarot of the Vampire, which I've been using lately. And you really have to think, because they use grails are cups, skulls are pentacles, knives are swords, and scepters are wands. So I have to translate in my head as I look at all of these. Okay. And then the pictures are just the art, kind of like they take you on a journey. Okay. So we start out the 10 of Cups. And I got to tell you that, Cleo, can you take the question down so we can see the cards better? Thanks. So this is the 10 of Cups, and it's a beautiful picture. And what this is relief. We will be very relieved when that knowledge comes out. And I believe that not just the people behind the scenes, but the universe is timing this, is softening the ground with all of these things that are coming out, little drips and drabs about, different whistleblowers, and then people standing up, and then the resistance with the protests. And all of these things are coming together to bring more and more of the Trump voters to the center so that they can see what really happened, to shake off the caul and to remove the blinders from their eyes so that they can see what's really been going on. And the sense that this card gives me is one of relief. Look at her face. She's relieved. Now, in her case, she's relieved that she finally bit someone, right? But but in general, we will feel like finally it happened. And what crosses that is the 6 of scepters, or the 6 of wands, which is usually the the hero returns and everything. But in this, look at this, the cat really like opening its mouth and growling there, and he's got the scepter up against his head. He's weary from this battle. Yeah, the battle's over, but and in this card there's no There's no horses, there's no crowd or anything like that. He's weary from the battle, but the first card is the relief of having made it through the battle. And the card at the bottom is temperance. And so it is not going to be like one big single event and then all of a sudden, boom, we all acknowledge that it was stolen and now boom, we can just have a new POTUS. It's just not going to be like that. And I just want to warn you that it's a process. Am I from Canada? It's a process. Okay. It's a process that we all have to go through and experience together. This is a kind of a karmic experience, but I don't really think so. But it's a journey that we are all going through together, and not just the United States. It's for the whole world, because there's lots of other countries that also have authoritarians either running things or about to run things. And so what happens with the United States ultimately will be a model for other countries. But right now, it is not. Right now, the rest of the world is looking at us and going, why aren't you taking care of this? They're trying to help us, but they are also just astounded that we're just letting this happen and that we let him be president again. Just astounded. But this is the way it has to unfold. It has to unfold so that people in this country actually come together over this, because we still have a lot of people kind of on two sides. Not a lot, but we have, some Trumpies that still, really believe that he's doing the right thing, even though clearly he's not. But they think he is because they've been watching Fox for 20 years. And even if they're young, it could be 20 years of Fox going in the brain, and it's going to take them a while to let that fall out the other side and to let them realize really what's really going on. Now, in the background is the high priestess, and in the past is the high priestess, and this is the secrets coming out. Tons and tons of information and secrets coming out. It's such a beautiful card. Does she have a sword? Kind of looks like she's holding a sword. That kind of looks like a sword to me, and her little black fingernails at the top. It's kind of hard to tell what it is, but I know it means the secrets are coming out. And as those secrets come out, we have to digest that information. And what does it mean to us as a people? What does it mean for me? What does it mean for our laws? What does it mean for the court cases that already exist? Do you realize there are I think as of today, maybe there's more now, but we'll say as of yesterday, as of Saturday, there were 196 court cases involving the Trump administration across the country. Take that in. Almost 200 court cases. So one other tactic that they are using is just to gum up the courts, just to almost bring them to a halt because there's just too much to deal with. That's one other aspect of this. Now, what crowns this is the Seven of Skulls. That's the Seven of Pentacles. I had to look at my little chart. It's the Seven of Pentacles. This is the wait for your harvest. Wait for it. It's still coming. So even when this is out in the open, even when we know and we have proof and all the evidence is out there, it is not going to be tomorrow she's POTUS. That is not going to happen, folks. So stop salivating for that. Stop wishing for that. You can wish for her to ultimately be POTUS. That's fine. Go ahead, wish that. But don't believe that if you don't see it happen in 24 hours after the election stuff comes out, that, oh, we failed or all the readers were wrong, because that's not what's going out. Yeah. They know. But anyway, okay, moving on here. So now we have the death card in the future. And what does that mean? Transformation. And what have I been talking about? People who don't believe anything bad about Dumpy now have to be transformed. They have to transform their thinking. They have to understand that this is not what they believed was the truth yesterday, that now we have a new truth that they must embrace. And you can't force somebody to do that. It's a process. It's an organic process that has to happen. They have to come to it, digest the information, and have the light bulbs go off themselves. There's no one, uh, democracy evangelist who's going to be able to convince them. Maybe many of those voices, like the Pete Buttigieg's and the AOC's and the Bernie Sanders and all the other people who are out there, Letitia James, talking about Cory Booker, talking about this stuff and making sense. Maybe the coalition of all those voices, that will start to make a dent, but it's not going to be immediate. It will bring, though, it will bring a transformation. It definitely will. Now, the Two of Scepters is what we fear. That's like the Two of Wands. We fear that the plan just won't work. It'll work. Don't worry about it. It's going to work. Now, what do we see for all of this stuff? We see the Six of Cups. We see going back to the way it was. Now, not very often do these cards say things like, yeah, it's going to go back to normal, right? Because the normal is going to change. Just like when we went through COVID. Do you remember everybody saying, oh, it's got to go back to normal. I can't wait for it to go back to normal. Did it go back to normal? No, it didn't, did it? We were changed irreparably, right? Yeah, same thing here. We're going to be changed forever by this experience. And God help us, I hope so, because if we go back to the way it was, then this thing that happened could happen again. So we don't want it to go back exactly the way it was. We want it to go back to a better set of laws that will prevent this from happening again. What do we hope for? What is being hoped for? The devil. And in this case, we hope to overcome the devil. We're hoping that we can overcome the devil and everything that the devil stands for. We hope that we can squelch him, isolate him, separate him from all of his cronies so that he can't do this anymore, arrest all of them, put them in jail, whatever. But all of that is also going to take time. But just getting them and isolating them and separating them from one another and doing court cases and stuff, that can happen fairly quickly, I believe. Now, that's just what I'm getting here. Now, the final outcome is the ten of swords, 10 of knives. And this shows me that this isn't against Kamala. This is against, I think, the Trump administration. That what will happen here is that entity, think of it as a big beast, right? That big beast has to be brought down and thoroughly killed. There cannot be any little legs twitching or nerves going or breath going in and out of the lungs. No, it has to die completely. And once it's dead completely, that's one piece of business. And then the next piece of business comes along where we have the interim government and we work on restoring the agencies, restoring foreign relations. And then we go back through all the other things that he did, like executive orders for and things like that. And we just start writing out, okay, this is null and void. This is null and void. This is null and void. And then taking the action to replace, recreate, put it back the way it was, whatever. Because not just the agencies that Elon went and destroyed. It's a billion of how many EOs, executive orders that he wrote. He's probably got 400 of them by now. And each one of them has to be addressed. And then we have to go through and somebody has to rewrite the Constitution. That's going to be a big coalition of people. Another group has to take a look at laws that were violated and see if we can close up any loopholes there. Or hey, here's a concept, rewrite them for modern day, because things like muskets don't get used anymore. Like the Second Amendment. Come on. I mean, can we please rewrite that one? That is so dumb. That is one of the dumbest ones ever. Anyway, so it is going to be this long process, and it doesn't have to take years. It could take months, but it is a process. And so, and also keep in mind the uncovering of the secrets about the stolen election are not what really brings things back and brings her back. That's not what really brings them back. It is the illegal activities of him taking the office, hiding evidence, taking the secret the confidential documents, all the activities that he has engaged in since he sat his butt in the Oval Office. It's a lot of that stuff that is really going to bring him down until we finally get to the point where he is decertified as any kind of a legitimate president and we get rid of him. Yeah, no more felons for president. That's another one. Okay, so kind of a long, drawn out thing and a lot of proselytizing on my part, but I wanted you guys to understand that this is a many layered solution to a many layered problem. Okay, all right, so let's look at something else. I'm going to take one or two more questions. Okay, let's go here. Kathleen, that's too much like the last thing we just talked about. That's well, I'm not going to put a time frame on it. It's going to take a while. Okay, let me see what I have on my list. Oh, okay. Here's what I'd like to read on. This came from my viewers. Can you read on, please? When Elon goes, will he take the Doge boys with him? Does this mean federal employees will stop getting fired because no one is there to oversee it? Okay, so let's look at that. I'm going to go back to the Pope Tarot. So when Elon goes, will he take the Doge boys with him? Elon goes. Will he take the Doge boys with him? Yeah, it's not going to go very well when Elon leaves, and I think he's leaving sooner rather than later. I don't think he's going to be all the way to the end of May. That's the end of his 130 days, and I think that is a certain rift between an orange person and the muskrat that just causes things to be very difficult for them to be around one another, not to mention his physical challenges with continuing to take his favorite chemical. The first card that I get is the Hanged Man crossed by the Two of Cups. So, he's a double Cancer. So moving on, going someplace else, just moving his residence is a really big deal for him. It's one thing for him to leave for a weekend to go down to Mar-a-Lago and then pop back up to Washington, D.C. That he can handle and that he understands because he's a businessman, and that's kind of been his normal routine for years, right? But actually moving out of the White House and going to live somewhere else, which is what DJT is going to demand that he do when he goes back to Tesla. And so this is really going to take a while for Elon. And just telling Elon that he has to do that is going to piss him off so much. And he has to go through all of that emotional range of emotions. And that's going to take a while. So I'm glad that it's starting now, because it'll probably take him, a long time to really wrap his head around it. The relationship that he has with his Doge boys is, he thinks he's one of the club. He thinks he's very cool because he's hanging out with these very young kids. And in his mind, again, this is this very old style thinking, that, youth is better than old age, that, skinny is better than overweight, that, hair with youthful color is better than gray hair, that, smooth skin that looks like it never saw the sun is better than somebody who has a few wrinkles. It's just this idea that you're judged and your value is based on very physical things, but also youth oriented. And he's, I mean, believe it or not, he's a 50-year-old man, but he's very out of touch with what's going on. I mean, he's not, he's very out of touch. He just does not understand the real world. That, and because he has been privileged for so long, he doesn't understand how normal people live anyway. So that puts him even more out of touch with people. But he's also very judgmental. He's a white supremacist, and so he judges people tremendously on every level that you can think of. Okay, back to this thing with Doge. So I get the Three of Pentacles here. So he's going to devise a fairly complex plan for them to follow when he's done. The problem is going to be that he leaves nobody in charge with enough gravitas and authority to carry out the plans. And among the Doge boys, the young ones, even Big Balls doesn't carry the weight and authority that Elon does. And so it's going to fall apart. That's the first thing, is that it's just not going to be, their plans are just not going to be executed. And also, everything that they're doing is really illegal. And I think as more time passes, more and more of these Doge people are going to start realizing that what they're doing is putting themselves at risk. Yeah, I know. I can't answer that. I don't know that. I don't know what's going on with that. But with Doge's apparent desire to just follow Elon's instructions, that's fine. But then when they start asking them to do things like, firing people and locking the doors and changing their passwords and emailing hundreds of people, that's not what that crew is meant to do. And I don't know who is in place that would even do that. I know that they mentioned a woman who was supposed to be in charge of Doge, but I mean, nobody's going to listen to her. And least of all the Doge boys, the little boys that are doing all the hacking. They're not going to listen to her. Okay. All right. So in the past, we have the Queen of Wands, and this could be the woman that was supposed to be in charge of Doge. So she's just like been overlooked. Nobody's paying attention to her. And in the top, we have the Page of Pentacles. What crowns everything is the Page of Pentacles. Again, a young person, somebody who understands this from a monetary perspective and just wants more money. But you know what? What I'm really getting strongly is that this person that really kind of tries to take the lead is really going to become a whistleblower, because something with the money is not going to go right for them. Now, out front, then we have the Knight of Pentacles. So we do have another person who has a little bit more authority and is really trying to carry on with what Elon wants. But think about what this card is in the Rider Waite. This is the slow and steady knight, the loyal, persistent, slow and steady knight. So he's not going to get anything done either, because he's going too slow. Now, what does the dumpster and Elon really want to have happen? Well, it's not going to happen. They want to have a ticker tape parade and everybody's saying, yay, you saved everything, when really they're just destroying everything. What are they worried about? They're worried about money, losing money. The thing is that they cannot connect the dots between things in the government that work to make the government sustain and money. Like all they're seeing is the money. They don't really get why all these things have to happen if it doesn't make them money. Why do we spend any money on the American public? Why don't we just keep the money? Because you want a road to drive on, because you want that bridge not to fall down when you drive over it, because if you're gonna have any kind of a public giving like Social Security, you have to have mechanisms that actually make the payments. Well, they don't believe the payments should be made at all. So, just crazy. What do we see? We see, this is just more acts of the devil, and it really is of the devil. They want to have the ticker tape parade for all of the things that they did. And the final outcome is the Knight of Cups. So there is going to be a whistleblower. There's going to be somebody who jumps out and says, I know what happened. Don't arrest me and put me in jail for the rest of my life. I'm only in my 20s. I don't want to be locked up. And there they go, because they're not going to be able to scamper off to a foreign country and escape prosecution. They're just not. And once they realize that, gee, maybe one of their parents will make a phone call, then they're just going to start squealing. They're not going to stick around and do what they need to do. And there may be people, other adults, who are trying to do what it is that Elon wanted them to do, but it's not going to work very well. It's going to kind of fall apart once he goes. Even before he goes, I think it's kind of fallen apart. You notice that there's a lot less momentum on all of those fronts, partially from the court cases, but mostly because I think Elon is just dealing with his own demons. Okay, so that's what I have to say about that. And all right. So is that it? Okay, government is a service. Yeah, it's not a business for profit. That's right. That's right. All right. So what is going to happen to Navarro? Let's read on that. He's so funny. Is Navarro going to go back to jail? Now, the question is, what is going to happen to Navarro, who appears to be the mastermind behind the tariffs? Now, that is the new spin that's coming out, right? And I know why that's coming out. It's coming out so that DJT can blame it all on Navarro when everything fails, as it is so spectacularly failing right now. This is not Navarro's. I mean, he may have had an idea about how to implement them and different methods to use for getting them in place. But Donald Trump has been talking about tariffs for, I think, 30 years. He was talking about tariffs probably before he even started running for president. And he has run for president not just the 3 times, but he's run many times. I lived in New York all through the Trumpy Studio 54 days. And this guy, I mean, every 4 years, this guy threw his hat in the ring. It may have been for 5 minutes, but he's been trying to do this for a very long time. So he's not given up now. And I continue to say this is kind of like a very sad, twisted King Lear kind of story, where he has reached this so-called pinnacle of success in his life. But look, his kids are not there anymore. He has this sad drug addict as his sidekick. He has all of these other sycophants who just, cannot formulate a sentence of their own. All they can do is parrot back to him things that he's already said or done. So it's very sad, what's going on with him. And then we have Peter Navarro, who is such a schlep that he goes on national news. He goes on with Ari Melber and actually confesses to the whole crime, which is what led to him going to jail. I mean, the poor schmuck doesn't even know enough to cover up his crime. So, and he went to Harvard. He went to Harvard. This guy was highly educated on, I think, economics. Why is he so stupid in other ways? He's just so dumb. So he went to jail for what he did, which was not just the Green Bay sweep, but he went to jail for resisting to talk to Congress, I think. So he's a schlep. He's a schlub. He's a schlemiel. He just doesn't understand what's going on with all this stuff. So he isn't actually the mastermind behind the tariffs. Yeah, he does have some ideas about it, but Trump's been talking about the tariffs a long time. Now, will he go back to jail is what I want to know. Is he going to get arrested again for Dumpy's sake? All right, so let's see what's going on with Navarro. Is Navarro going to end up going back to the slammer because he kissed Dump's behind one too many times? Because I think he is. Oh, God. Yep, he's gonna go back to jail. This guy is so dumb. Okay, so what do we have here? I mean, he thinks he's the magician, you know, and in some ways, he kind of is. He managed to take the stupidest idea on earth, tariffs, and bring it to fruition. I mean, he did do that. And he's not the mastermind, but DJT wanted to do tariffs. He has for 30 years, and Navarro found a way for him to do it. Remember, Navarro was brought in, I believe, by Jared Kushner, who went scouring the MAGA universe trying to find somebody who knew a thing or two about tariffs. He found Navarro. Navarro had this degree from Harvard. And then Navarro wrote up papers and quoted actually himself, but he gave himself a pseudonym so it looked like he was quoting a different expert, just like Donnie Trump did when he used to put his own PR pieces into the New York Post. Okay, so Navarro thinks that he's just brilliant. And look at the picture on this. I love this. Is this a little bit of a Navarro face? So dumb. Okay. And what crosses that is the Six of Pentacles. You wash my hand, I'll wash yours. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So this Six of Pentacles, yeah, he kissed the butt one too many times and he's going to go back to jail. The card at the bottom, the Knight of Cups. So there's going to be some surprises. There's going to be some things that come out that nobody wants to come out. And, that might have more to do with like maybe insider trading or stuff that affected the stock market that could come out. Because I think besides insider trading, there's also laws against stock manipulation. And that's basically what they did with all of the tariffs up, tariffs down, tariffs on, tariffs off. And that was very bad. Now, in the past, we have the Ace of Pentacles. So they were all out there to make a buttload of money. And to me, that says insider trading. Now, what crowns it is the Fool. He is a fool, if nothing else. And so he's just, he's seeing his 15 minutes of fame and he's grabbing it. What comes up in the future for him is the Eight of Pentacles. So he thinks that he had a big expert that he quoted in his papers. What he did is he took his own name, Peter Navarro, and he made up his expert, Ron Vera, and quoted him in these articles. And that was his big claim to fame. So the Eight of Pentacles is telling me that there's going to be people who are much more educated and much smarter than Peter Navarro who will come out and show what he did that was a crime. That's basically what's going to happen to Mr. Peter Navarro. What is he hoping for, or what is he afraid of? He is afraid that he will be imprisoned. And although it's the Nine of Cups, it is a card that shows somebody who is encompassed by a gilded cage, as it were, right? We around him, we're seeing the King of Pentacles. We're seeing, you can't be that greedy. You just can't be that greedy. What is another thing he's hoping for? That it's, he's just a part of the crowd. The Three of Cups, he just wants to be a part of the in crowd, and he wants to be cool, just like Donald does, and he wants to be acknowledged, So there we go. The final outcome is a yes card about the prison. It's the Sun, and that's just saying, yep, you're getting what you want. Why won't that focus? There we go. There's a little better focus. So it is the yes card saying he going off to prison. And I think that should wrap it up for us. We did a few questions there. Navarro is a total moron. He's the one who described indeed. Yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah. 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 That's what I just said, that he described a coup. And that is, they played that tape in court. Yes, they did. He is really stupid. He's lucky. Navarro is lucky that when he was prosecuted, it wasn't for the stuff that he talked about in the Green Bay sweep, because that's a coup, and that's really whatever the non-wartime equivalent is of treason, betraying his country. If they had put him in jail for that, I think it would have been for a lot longer. I think he only got something like a certain number of months, maybe a year or 18 months or something like that. So, these people, there's no accounting for taste. But anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining me for an hour or so of PoliTarology on a Sunday afternoon. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to get going here, but I will be back on Friday. Thanks. Thank you. I'll be back on Friday, and we will do it again. So stay tuned and look for the announcement. It'll be coming up in your feeds. If you're subscribed, please be subscribed. And I do think that YouTube is doing something hinky with my subscribers. I really do. I just do. I think it's YouTube. I don't think it's people all of a sudden deciding to drop the cool Crone. I just, thanks, Sherry. Thanks very much. And everybody have a great rest of your Sunday. And I do have some shows coming on this week, so take a look in your notifications to see what's happening, and I will see you later. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Cleo. Thanks for doing everything in the background.